It seems like today, October 24th, 2024, when we're recording this. Today, all of a sudden, everybody has finally decided, I'm done with As I Lay Dying. I have seen hundreds of posts today from people that are like, wow, all the band members from As I Lay Dying are leaving. Wow, I'm really done with this band. That says a lot about Tim and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really? The band members leaving? Not him going to jail for trying to have his ex-wife murdered? Like, what is happening? We got to dive into this because this is wild, dude. Like, we haven't seen a mass exodus of band members from a band like this. It just straight up gone in a while. And what I really realized when I was reading this, I was like, oh, wow. As I Lay Dying is turning into a metalcore version of Puddle of Mud. Like, it's actually happening. For those of you guys that aren't familiar, like Puddle Mud was huge in like the early 2000s. And just over the years, their singer like spiraled, like huge downward spiral. He's like, he should be in the loony bin. But in the last like 15 years, they've had over like 20 different band members in Puddle of Mud, and the only original person left is their singer, Wes. And it seems like that's what's going on right now with As I Lay Dying. Now, to be fair, their longtime guitarist, Phil, is still there as well. Who knows? He might leave in the next 24 hours or something too. 3/5 of the band has departed in the last couple of days, and they're actually being very outspoken about it, to the point where it's kind of wild. Like I was saying, fans are starting to like, I think, see like, wow, so okay, it's Tim, it's their singer. So for anybody that's not hip to this story, let's just do a quick refresher. As I Lay Dying is widely considered one of the more like OG metalcore bands from the US, man. Even though I haven't listened to them since all this stuff with Tim happened like 10 years ago, I will fully admit I was obsessed with As I Lay Dying at one point. I loved their first few albums, and I think it's undeniable to really argue how big of an impact they've had on a lot of other musicians and bands. But Tim Lambesis, the singer, who is now currently the only original member of the band left, he's not only been in As I Lay Dying, he's also had Austrian Death Machine. He's got a couple other side project bands that I'm not familiar with. But in 2013, Tim was arrested for attempting to hire a hitman to murder his wife. I know, it's crazy. And according to the San Diego County Sheriff's Office, the charge was for soliciting an undercover detective to kill his wife. According to the stories on here, it said that he actually approached somebody at a gym that he was working out at and asked if they knew anyone that could do that for him. He ended up meeting an undercover agent, like exchanged an envelope with them with $1,000 up front for expenses, pictures of his wife, her address, the code to get through her gate where she lived, and the date on which to do this, because he was going to have his kids at the time and he wanted to have an alibi and make it look like it didn't happen. Originally, in May of 2013, he did plead not guilty to the felony charge of solicitation of murder. And one of his reasonings for that, well, let's say not his, we'll say his lawyers. His lawyers say he wasn't in his right mind because of steroid use. Basically, roid rage is what they argued. And I've never taken steroids, so I don't know the psychological effects of steroids. But I will say, back then, around that time, like, Tim Lambesis was a bona fide beef castle. That guy was massive. And if you took one look at him and know anything about physique and bodybuilding, like, you can look at somebody and you can tell they're on gear. Like, he was juiced out of his mind, for sure. So whether or not that actually had a psychological effect on him, I don't know. From everything I've read about steroids and seen like interviews about it, yes, that can affect your thinking. But to do that, I don't know. I mean, it's a lawyer's defense. That's all I'll say. Like, it is a wild defense to take, but it was his lawyer's defense. That's not like I farted. I promise that was my belt on my chair and not a fart. Almost a year later after that, he did change his plea from not guilty to guilty. He got sentenced to 6 years in prison, and it eventually, super long story short, eventually he got paroled after 2 years of time served, and he got out. And he's been out ever since. One of the wild things about this whole story is that he actually filed lawsuits against detention centers that he was in for gross negligence, saying that they denied him a drug that he had been prescribed to fight the side effects of steroid withdrawal. He claims that it also made him develop breasts, man boobs, moobs, and underwent severe emotional distress. He was asking for $35 million, which was dismissed. But it does say that his claims of medical negligence have yet to be tried, and it is 2024 now, so it's been 8 years. Now, when all of this originally went down, his former bandmates from As I Lay Dying basically said they were done with the dude. Like, they weren't going to support him. When he got out of jail, they weren't going to restart the band. They started their own band. They were doing other things. And I won't share any things that were said to me and insider info because none of these people have given me approval to say these things out loud. But I will say I had some friends that were on their crew back in the day that told me a lot of things about the situation and stuff like that. So when I found out that the band members did bring Tim back after all of this went down, I found it very surprising, to say the least. The only thing I could think of was that because of the legacy that As I Lay Dying had, that was like their big ticket to making money. Let's be honest here. It's the music industry. Like, their newer band wasn't doing as well as I Lay Dying, what Tim was doing. So they reformed As I Lay Dying and they started getting booked on tours. Eventually, I think it was earlier this year or late last year, Napalm Records actually signed As I Lay Dying, which I find very weird, and we can talk about this more later about like how sometimes in the music industry you can just nobody cares about your past as long as they can make money off of you. But let's go to today. In today's current climate, 3 out of the 5 members of As I Lay Dying have quit over the past couple of days. The 3 members that quit were guitarist Ken Susi, drummer Nick Pierce, and bassist Ryan Neff. Ken and Nick were originally from Unearth. Another fantastic metalcore band. If for some reason you've never gotten into Unearth before, I would highly, highly suggest checking out Unearth. And then Ryan Neff, who is also in Miss May I. And the huge thing about all these members leaving right now is that they have an album coming out in like 3 weeks that all of these members recorded on. Ryan, their bass player, was doing all the clean vocals on everything, and they have tours lined up. And as of right now, As I Lay Dying has not announced anything official. They haven't even announced anything about the band members leaving or anything like that. Should be mentioned that none of these members are originals either. They came back. They all joined the band semi-recently. Like, Nick is only the second drummer they've ever had after their original drummer, Jordan Mancino, left a couple years back. Ken replaced Nick Hippa, who had been their guitar player since like 2003. So they've had a lot of changes going on. Now, originally it was just Ryan that quit at first. This was a couple days ago. Actually, I believe it was almost a week ago at this point. Ryan had posted on social media and said, "This choice comes after much reflection, and I believe it is the right step for my personal and professional journey. I'm grateful for the experiences and connections I've made during my time with the band." But then, about an hour later, and this is kind of crazy that this made the news, but it was announced that their tour manager, Alex Kendrick, who I know the name and I'm sure I've met him in passing in the industry before, but I don't know Alex well, so I'm not going to really give personal opinion on anything, but their tour manager announced he was leaving. Now, he did say, like, I'm not going to take any questions about this from anybody. I'm just saying, like, I'm not there anymore either. And he does work for other bands. But I do find it odd that right after a band member posted they were leaving, the tour manager decided to do that. Like, you know, I currently tour manage a band, but I don't know. And even with my content creation and social media and stuff like that, I don't know if I would make an announcement saying that, like, I am no longer tour managing Electric Callboy. Like, I don't know. So I find that odd. Like, I actually, the more I think about it, I'm wondering if because Ryan was getting such a hard time from the As I Lay Dying community, if somebody else from their crew, like he felt like it would help diffuse the situation to know that somebody else was leaving. Now, and that whole thing right there, diffusing the situation, looks like what it led to, or what had led to Ken announcing his departure. On Ken's Instagram, And this was 8 hours ago as we're recording right now. Ken said, my time playing with As I Lay Dying has come to an end today. I leave with so much gratitude for everyone who followed and supported me from my days in Unearthed to this era of my career. I jumped into the As I Lay Dying camp with full knowledge of the heightened dramatic history, but had a drive to just play great music with great friends. Unfortunately, my personal morals have recently been tested to a breaking point, and it's now the saddest ending to what could have been the greatest second chance for this band. Ryan Neff is receiving a lot of backlash for stepping down first, and I regret not sharing this decision sooner and standing confidently with my friend. He's a flawless musician and an even better person. I'll miss you all on this stage, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Anyone looking for a guitar player? It's kind of funny, actually. I mean, Ken is a fantastic musician. Like, he'll, like, all of these members will find themselves in other bands. I mean, Ryan is already the longtime bassist of Miss May I, so he's got that. And then Nick, even more recently, their drummer, 4 hours ago from the time that we are recording, he posted, as of now, I am no longer playing drums for As I Lay Dying. This is far from the ending I anticipated, and I feel I need to distance myself from the band in an effort to retain my personal health and integrity. I want to express my deepest gratitude to everyone who followed and supported me throughout this journey. My goal has and always will be to create unforgettable memories with my friends and write music that will truly resonate with our fans. I'm proud of what I've accomplished on the road touring, as well as writing and recording drums for the new album. Looking ahead, I'm excited to continue my drumming career and pursue what I love most, which is making music. My touring and session schedule is now actively open for new opportunities. 3 members bailing, and it seems like there's a common thread, at least more specifically with Ken and Nick. Ryan's announcement was very just, like neutral, like, hey, like I've just decided to leave. Nick and Ken actually threw out some details there. Like Ken, I believe it was Ken that just said, like, for his moral integrity, he had to leave. Nick said for his own personal health and mental state, like, he had to leave. So if that doesn't tell you anything, then you're trying to actively avoid what's going on. Because let's not forget, a while back, their original guitarist, well, not original, but he was there since like 2003, Nick Hippa, he is the one that Ken replaced. He like silently quit the band, but didn't really say anything for about a year. And when he finally announced that he was leaving, he said, I am deeply appreciative for the love, care, and concern I have been messaged with over the past year while being largely absent from social media. My days have been occupied with a motion design career, deep focus on my family, taking care of my health, and working on other creative projects. Real life has a way of crowding out time for things like social media, so I apologize to those of you who reached out to me for answers regarding my dissociation from As I Lay Dying and never heard back. I've been trying to move on peacefully in life. At this point, though, it has been well over a year since I've distanced myself from them on personal and professional levels. In that time, they have only given fans merchandising posts and show announcements. This sort of activity highlights and reinforces our differences. Respectfully, I left because the story and meaning we built our reunion upon decayed considerably over time. What primarily endures is a superficial pursuit I cannot justify supporting or being part of. This is not an indictment on any who choose to remain or be involved. There is tremendous good that can be accomplished through singular focus on the power of music. However, to my memory and recent experience, it comes at the cost of tolerating behavior which at times mistreats, disrespects, and hurts other people. I do not have it in me to walk that road again. So, with all of that being said and the statements from band members that have left recently, we can see there is a common thread here. And that common thread is Tim Lambesis, which is something I could have told you 10 years ago. However, I will like to state, before we continue this discussion, I have met Tim once before. It was like 2009 or 10. I was working for Red at the time. I was their lighting designer. And Red and Head from Korn, when he was doing his solo thing, and As I Lay Dying were on the same festival all in a row. And As I Lay Dying did not have their own lighting designer with them. And I approached them and said, would you like me to run lights for you for your show? I know all of your music. And they allowed me to. And afterwards, I met the band, and Tim was very nice to me. Like, he thanked me, and they were very cool. So I will say, in the interest of fairness, the one 5-minute interaction I've ever had with Tim Lambesis in my life was very positive, and he was a very nice guy to me. Now, all of these people in the band have spent considerably more time with him than I have, so I'm going to take them at their words. And also, this was before he apparently roid raged and went to jail. So, yeah. Geo VTuber in chat just said, call me crazy, but I think Tim Lambesis might be a little difficult to work with. I mean, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, You guys know the rest of the saying, man. And listen, I am fully aware talking about this right now, and I'll look at the camera and address this to everybody on YouTube. This is cheap content. Like, really. Like, this is something that everybody is talking about because it is a big deal, but it's like, these are the bigger picture here that I really want to discuss is how people are willing to ignore all of these things when they like a band. You hear people say a lot. They're like, just separate the art from the artist, man. Like, who cares what the people in the band are really like? Just like the music. To that, I say, fuck that. Why do I have to do that? Like, really? And listen, I'll fully admit, there are probably some bands that I still listen to that have questionable backgrounds. Like, I still listen to fucking Pantera. I listen to Falling in Reverse, and people always talk about Ronnie. I listen to Slaughter to Prevail, even though people accuse Alex of stuff, which is blatantly, clearly not true. But you know what I mean? I think for myself and for anybody else that listens to music, I'm not here to tell you what to do. And I would never judge you for that either. Listen to whatever you want for whatever reason you want. If you're still a fan of As I Lay Dying and because you love the music, fine. Like, really, it's not a big deal. Listen to it. Enjoy it. Whatever. I choose not to. That's just me. S. Brookman in chat just said, any Lost Prophets fans in here? We're not going to deep dive into this conversation, but it's funny that you brought that up because that is a point I would like to make. One of the other things people constantly bring up is that with Tim specifically is like, he did his time. Like, he got caught. He went to jail. He did his time. Give him a second chance. Okay. Well, then by that logic, what about somebody like Ian Watkins from Lost Prophets? We are not getting into what he did here. If you want to Google it, you can, but we're not bringing it up. He will get out of jail. If he serves a full sentence, he will get out of jail in 24 years from right now. When he gets out of jail, are you going to be cool listening to Lost Prophets? Are you going to say, hey, the dude did his time, give him a second chance? I'm not. Fuck that guy. Like, no chance. So it's a flawed argument. Yes, there are things that people should be given a second chance for. Absolutely 100%. But there are things that I believe, no, I'm done with you. And trying to hire somebody to kill your wife is one of those things for me on my moral level. Again, if you still listen to the band and you're fine with it, whatever. I'm not judging you at all. Everybody has their own opinions and stuff like that. But it's one of those situations where I was like, I'm done with this band. And it was kind of a bummer because like, I did love this band and they were a huge influence on me when I was younger. But going back to what we were talking about, the big thing here is that when it comes to entertainment and music and money and stuff like that, people are very willing to brush certain things under the rug when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, I was shocked when I saw that Napalm Records signed this band, As I Lay Dying. I was blown away because I was like, really? Like, for what reason? Other than to, like, promote their comeback and make money off of their tours and albums. Like, and I know people at Napalm Records. And, like, I was, and I wanted to ask some of them deep questions and, like, what is going on and why did you guys make this choice? But I would never put them in that situation. Sunbro Daniel in chat says companies want to make money. I mean, that is the big thing here. Is that there are oftentimes in the music industry and entertainment. I mean, look, I guarantee, look at what's going on with Diddy right now, dude. And now that's a whole nother level, but I guarantee you there's people out there still banging Diddy albums for sure. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make here is that when it comes to money and fame and power and entertainment, there are people and companies that are very willing to just forget these things or make excuses just to, like I said, keep making money off of other people. And I think at this point that we're at with this entire As I Lay Dying situation, we can clearly see that even aside from Tim's legal problems and the things that have happened, there might be an issue there. Actually, I'm not even gonna say there might be. There's an issue there. Because now we're talking about multiple band members within the last few years leaving, all of them making statements pertaining to morals and personal health and stuff like that. Like, Tim is the issue. There's no other choice. It's just like going back to the beginning of this video when we talked about Puddle of Mud. You can clearly see that Wes Scantlin is the issue with Puddle of Mud, but in the same way as I Lay Dying, tons of people are still supporting the music, going to shows, listening to it, stuff like that. So yeah, it's just one of those interesting things to ponder for me being in the music industry and even for fans. Like, where do we draw the line at somebody's past or separating the music from the musician and stuff like that? You know, it's an argument that will constantly be ongoing. But, you know, my opinion on the whole thing, like I said, is like, I don't think anybody should have to do that if they don't want to. If you want to keep listening to bands that have been accused of things like that for whatever reason, that's fine. And I'm not going to judge you for it. But there are certain bands that I won't listen to. In the same way that there's probably bands I listen to that you guys won't for personal reasons too. So Diagon in chat just said Tim allegedly assaulted his wife. Where have you been? He went to oh wait, are you talking about his wife now? Well, that's alleged stuff. We're not gonna talk about that. Like, I don't know what's going on with that right now, and that hasn't been reported on, so we're not going to speculate anything regarding his current wife now. There is nothing in Google or anything popping up about that happening, so until there's more news on that. All right, Future Tank here. I don't do this a ton, but since we filmed this video on Twitch, more stuff has happened. I kind of just want to address this whole rumor situation where people are saying that there's video evidence online of Tim abusing his current wife and all this other stuff, which, like I said, there was no evidence of that we could find. But since I've started editing this video, Tim's wife, Dani Lambesis, has actually come out with a statement saying that she felt like she needed to address this. She said, "I am writing this statement to address the recent rumors circulating on social media regarding my husband, Tim Lambesis, and the allegations of domestic violence. It has come to my attention that false claims have been made suggesting that my husband has harmed me. I want to make it unequivocally clear that these allegations are completely false. My husband has never caused harm to me in this manner, and I am deeply saddened by the unfounded rumors that have emerged during this challenging time for his band. There's never been an incident that warrants such accusations. We have had our relationship issues like many other couples, but nothing to the degree of domestic violence or what is being portrayed online. It deeply saddens me that I find myself in a position where I must publicly explain my personal life and relationship because of flat-out lies. It is completely unjust that everything spread the way it did and nobody even considered my voice to be heard through it all. This is unfair to both Tim and I and our relationship. It is disheartening to witness how quickly misinformation can spread and the impact it can have on individuals and families. I ask that you respect our privacy during this time and refrain from perpetuating these harmful rumors any further." Now, for me personally, I will say I didn't think that there was any truth to the rumors that we were seeing online, and it is kind of sad that she's had to come out and address all of this stuff, but it's a good example of how misinformation on the internet nowadays does spread. I mean, somebody reads something without questioning it, they share it, somebody else reads it, they share it. Before you know it, tons and tons of other people have shared it with people. And again, we got the rumors that there's like video evidence of this happening and stuff like that. And there clearly wasn't any. So in the interest of fairness with this story, or less of a story, but me just talking about it, I wanted to bring this up to clear that up because that feels fair. Before we wrap this up earlier, I did see somebody in chat say that Phil, the one other remaining member of As I Lay Dying other than Tim, has said that he is going to be making an announcement soon about his future with the band. I don't know if that's true or not. I just wanted to say I saw that in chat. As of right now, filming. Wait, somebody said already did. It's on his Instagram.
A few moments later.
Oh, it's an announcement for an announcement. Phil posted on Instagram, "I will be making a personal statement shortly on where I stand in the current As I Lay Dying situation. There's a lot more of the bureaucracy business that I am navigating at the moment, but I will share more with you once a clear path of moving forward presents itself." Okay, actually, I was joking about it being an announcement to an announcement, but considering he said there's a lot more of the bureaucracy business that I'm navigating at the moment, I get that. I understand. I understand that. Like, here's the other thing we didn't even touch on. I guarantee you that Ryan, Nick, and Ken, who just quit, they are hired guns. I can say that with almost 100% confidence. They are not members of this band in terms of the business. They have no business stake in it at all. I bet that Phil does. So the fact that he's saying there's a lot more of the bureaucracy business that I'm navigating, he's probably figuring that out. It's the same reason why Pete, the bass player from Trapped, has been there and endured so much for years and years and years too, because he actually has a business stake in the band, and if he leaves, that goes away. You know what I mean? So yeah, the announcement to an announcement is funny in a sense because bands do that a lot, but I actually get what he's saying, and comments on that post are off. So as of recording this video, Phil has said absolutely nothing about this situation, but I will say if Phil bails, there's your 100% definite answer of what's going on. And yeah, so. But anyways, we'll wrap this one up because, again, I just wanted to talk about this because it's a hot topic and I kind of wanted to weigh the situation and talk about it. And also talk about, again, like, how people decide who and what they want to support and listen to and stuff like that. So chat, thank you for the good conversation. For anybody watching on YouTube later, we did this live on Twitch. I don't have the chat on screen all the time anymore because can't behave themselves. But if you're watching on YouTube and you'd like to join us on Twitch, you can go to twitch.tv/TankTheTech. I'm also on a ton of different social media. You can go to @TankTheTech is my handle on just about everything. But until next time, wherever you are in the world, be safe, be kind to each other. I love you all, and I will see you very soon.